Okay, today is real talk about parasites. This episode might make you a little bit squeamish and feel empowered all at the same time in under an hour. Welcome back to the Emotion Leads podcast. I'm your host, Kim Hines, and today we are going there. Parasites, poop, pee, worms, all of the things your doctor is definitely not bringing up at your annual appointment. My guest is Kim Rogers, aka the Worm Queen. And let me just say, she's not here to fearmonger. She's here to tell you the truth about what is possibly living rent-free in your body and causing all the issues. It's not cute. Must have them. And here's a spoiler alert. They might be causing your bloating, your constipation, your skin issues, or even those weird mood swings around the full moon. And that mystery fatigue that no lab test can explain. She's dropping so many parasite truth bombs and giving us information on how she created the Parafide Detox Kit. And I am actually using the Parafide Detox Kit, and why detoxing isn't just for crunchy granola types. If you've ever eaten sushi, you have a pet, you drink water, any water, or walked barefoot, this episode is for you. So hit play. Hit subscribe and leave a 5-star review if your jaw hits the floor, and text this message to a friend that really needs to hear this, especially if she's having symptoms that she cannot figure out. Let's get into it. Hey, Kim, thank you so much for joining me.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited. I never thought I'd be excited about talking about parasites and worms, but I'm telling you, this is going to be a good one. So, listeners,
Mhm.
tune in because you have all listened to those of you who've been with me for a long time, I had a 5-part gut health series, and this is the best thing to round that out. And, Kim, I just got to ask you because this is like kind of a terrifying subject. What's a nice girl like you getting into being called the worm queen? How did you get here? Because I know you have some professional background, but there's some personal
Yep.
stuff too.
Yeah, so thank you. And I didn't want to be known as the worm lady. I joke around about that on all my podcasts, but like it's just not really fun, right? And I make the funnest merch with Worm Queen. I have a worm with a crown on it through all of my mushrooms. So like, let's make this fun. And we were kind of talking a little bit about this offline, but we don't quite understand why this is such a thing, so feared, so taboo. Like, I don't understand it because I come from Western medicine. I've been in Western medicine since 2004. I hold 2 healthcare degrees, valedictorian of both of my degrees. I ran 25 healthcare colleges. I wrote curriculum for those colleges while I was actually helping the campuses, and I have written for multiple like publishing companies, Cengage, McGraw-Hill. So I don't understand when I went viral over my own personal parasite cleanse why it was such a crazy thing. And when I say viral, like 1 million people in 2 hours watched my video, and there was thousands, hundreds of thousands of comments and likes, and it shut the TikTok down because it couldn't keep up with the ticker tape going on. It was just wild. And I also struggle with parasites because it was in our water in our home in Washington from the city. So I don't understand why they don't want to talk about it and why it's such a shadowed thing in life. But yeah, I mean, I come from this world. I love talking about the body. And I also had parasites mold, and I have chronic Lyme. So I come from it personally and professionally. And I started the journey because I had stage 4 endometriosis, and I had a hysterectomy when I was 29 and 13 surgeries. And I'm 46 now, and there isn't much left for them to be able to help me with. So I wanted to find out what was wrong with me on my own. And that's what I've done.
Wow. You've been through quite the journey with this. And
Mhm.
that's amazing because you have the medical background. And then I don't want you to be going through this personal journey, but you have the
Yeah.
empathy to understand the process that people have to go through to even find out that they have this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was telling you offline, I found out I had a parasite. And when I went through my testing, they would not let me get to that level of testing. They made me do the colonoscopy first and very high level of everything. And I had to go to functional medicine in order to get the full blown test that told me I had blastocystis hominis, or however you say it, and my lovely blasto friend. And I want to get into that. I'm going to bring that up again, but I want to ask because people feel very grossed out by parasites and worms. And you have to, if you really want to like get into it, you have to go to Kim's Worm Queen Instagram, because I was flipping through and showing my husband Mike this weekend, and he was horrified because he brought back a container of frozen king salmon that he'd caught from Alaska. So we will talk about all that.
Okay.
But let's talk about, where do people get parasites or worms from first? Because nobody thinks they can get them. Yet
Right.
I have clients, I've tested positive for them.
No one thinks they can get them in the Western medicine countries.
We're too
Other
clean.
countries know they can get them. It's just our own indoctrination to think that, oh, we're a first world country. There's no way that our fish is contaminated, that our water is contaminated, our dirt is contaminated, our pets are contaminated, are, walking out barefoot grounding, which is fine. Like I'm not an anti-grounder, but I am an anti go and run around in the yard barefoot when you don't know what animals have gone to the bathroom in your yard. So I always say to just make like a little area, clean it with diatomaceous earth, try and keep animals off of that area in order just to protect yourself. Like, this isn't a fear mongering thing. This is just so new to people because it's not really been talked about. It's been feared and taboo for so many years, around 100 years. It's been a taboo talk, but we have them. Like, it's not impossible for us to have them. In fact, the CDC says 60 million people that have been tested. And that's the thing, is that we don't have those valid tests, right? And so 60 million Americans have parasites. And that's a lot if you think about, I was tested and mine came back negative through LabCorp, but then I sent my stool off to a company called parasites.org, which they send it off to Mexico because we don't have good testing in the States. And I came back positive. So I didn't count in those 60 million. So how many of us don't count inside of that 60 million? Well, I believe, and I've been doing this for 4 years, that 90 to 95% of us have parasites. And I mean, me and you are sitting here and we both had parasites. Everyone I talk to, which I talk to a lot of people and have for the last 4 years, have parasites. I can't tell you a number of people that haven't had parasites that I've talked with. So there is some faulty labs out there. And that's why I created the Parafite Kit, so that everyone could have some option when they choose to cleanse their body, because we all should be cleansing like 3 to 4 times a year minimum, and just getting out those toxins, because, our buckets are overflowing with heavy metals, candida, mold, parasites. And so I wanted to make it easy for people to have access to anti-parasitic herbs and an actual system. And so going back to my personal, there wasn't access to anything. I couldn't even get access to a doctor that could help me 4 years ago when I first found out that I was sick with Cryptosporidium parvium, roundworm, and pinworms. So, and same with my husband. My husband had D. fragilis, and that was from our water. But once you have one parasite, they all kind of magnet to you, right? You all of a sudden, like, you start to clean something out and another layer comes up, and that's how it works with environmental toxins. But I mean, it's crazy that we're in such denial, really.
We really are. And going back to some of the things where you can get it, I don't think it's worth racking my brain too hard, but I used to go to a cabin in Colorado and there was a cistern. We didn't drink that water, but we did shower in it. And my dad would heat it up super, super hot for the dishes. So there's no telling what animals fell into the cistern, even though we put bleach and stuff in it. Then I had chickens for a number of years. I have a dog. I do not let him like lick my face or anything because I see what he's doing for his bath. And I don't do that. But just being around them, literally picking
Mhm.
up the bowl and things like that. So I started going through all the possibilities. One of the questions that my husband had asked is, can you transfer worms and parasites from one person to another? Because when I came up
Yes.
positive, he got tested.
You can, but it doesn't always mean that their microbiome is going to accept that parasite. So, like, I had crypto and my husband had D. fragilis. Now, they're still a
Good.
protozoa. They're
Good.
still, and then once we found that out, I mean, we stopped everything, right? Because I didn't want D. fragilis and he didn't want crypto. So, we had stopped in order for us to cleanse, because that's kind of what you really should be doing, because now you become a little more vulnerable when you do a parasite cleanse or any sort of cleanse where it's releasing toxins, and then it's easy to swap. Now, everyone in your house, including your pets, have the same microbiome. It's just the way life is. You're breathing like candida. If one's having a flare, you should treat yourself, because everything is pretty much airborne in life, and they're so microscopic, and that includes your dog. So if your dog is licking itself and then hopping up on the furniture and you happen to put your hand down where his paw might have been out in the poo, and then you touch it and you don't realize it because it's microscopic, there's a whole system. And we're not trying to fear anything. It's really about the knowledge and understanding that you should be deworming your animals, you should be deworming yourself. It's a proactive approach instead of a reactive approach, is what we're all in, a reactive approach of our health. So I don't want to be reactive anymore. I mean, I've been through the ringer, right? Like, I went out to our property to die, and I openly talk about that. When I first found out how sick I was, my husband and I moved out to our recreational property to build our log home, and I really did not think I was going to get to see it done, and I have, but I was in really rough shape. And so I don't want to ever get to that point. And that's kind of why I stand on these soapboxes and talk about this so much, because no one wants to get to that point. And like you're saying, you're avoiding some of the things with your dog, but I also think that, like, we don't realize some of the things that were around when we have animals, or brushing our teeth with contaminated water. I was rinsing my produce with contaminated water, thinking I was doing everything right.
Yes. Well, it's interesting you said that, because one of my really good friends, because we're kind of on the same journey, we're both health coaches and we support each other. So when I got tested, she got tested, or vice
Mhm.
versa, one or the other. She had a different parasite. So here we are, health coaches, trying to do the right thing, eating organic, being as holistic as possible, just trying to, really help other people do that too. So organic produce, even if
Yep.
it's organic, how do you take care of your produce when it comes into the house? Do you have like a simple method that everybody could do?
Very simple. Very, very simple. Grab a pen. I recommend two different stages of cleaning your produce. And this goes for all produce, fruit and vegetables. You can also use the second thing that I do with meats as well. So I recommend 2 cups of vinegar, a half of a lime, 2 tablespoons of sea salt. I like Baja Gold, and 1 gallon of filtered or distilled water. You rinse your produce, you put it in the soak, you let it soak for 5 to 10 minutes. You take it out of that soak and you rinse it again. Then you put it in fresh water and you turn on your Therasage ozone bubbler machine. It's $100 and it creates ozone water. So not only with the first soak are you kind of biohacking, because the magnesium and the minerals that are inside of that Baja Gold salt are remineralizing your produce. But now anything that potentially could have slipped away, or maybe those ingredients didn't get it good enough for bacteria and pesticides, you're going to do it with the ozone machine. Total time it takes to do your produce is around 30 minutes. And it lasts longer, it tastes better, because the bacteria is no longer eating it. So it lasts longer and it gets the crunch back. Like grapes, man, grapes are a little soggy. You put them and do this mix, they're gonna snap together, and you can hear them. So you're trying to nourish your body, right? And so why would you not want to clean your produce to the best of your ability? And those two things are like fail safe, you know? And the Thurisage is $100 and you can travel with it. You can make ozone water with it, which I use ozone water in my mouth. Like it's one of the best modalities that I've ever had.
Wow. I had
Mhm.
never even known about the ozone water. And the other part's super simple. So
Yeah,
if you can get the ozone, that's great. Okay, we're gonna ruin food for people. So let's
for
just
sure.
get
I do
ready.
it every day.
Everybody get ready because I get on your Instagram and I'm like, yeah, yeah, let's go to the salmon. So he gets this great opportunity to go to Alaska. He gets to fish all he wants for king salmon. They
Fun.
freeze it, chop it up, they throw it into the cooler. He brings it back on the plane. And then I meet Kim Rogers. And so
Same, friend.
oh my gosh. I was like, dude, I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about salmon and fish in general and fish, sushi, all of it. Because salmon has been pushed so hard, the Mediterranean diet, the
Mhm.
health benefits. So people really are trying to do the right thing. What's up with salmon? And is there a way that people can get around what you're going to tell them is going on with it?
So let me just preface this. 20 is my rules.
Okay.
I say 80% you're being cautious, 20% live your life. We're human. We want this human experience. We're not here fear mongering. Ends. Like we know this is a thing, right?
Yes.
Other countries cleanse. So we should be cleansing as well. Again, being proactive, not reactive. So if you're going to eat salmon, which I will say salmon is my favorite, and I have not eaten it in 4 years, which makes me very sad because I just don't think I can get past what I see on a daily basis. However, if you cook the salmon, the CDC says, take that for what it's worth, but says, 145 to 175 degrees will kill it. Oh, freezing it will not. I mean, they just had a worm wake up after 46,000 years in the permafrost and it started eating and having babies. So freezing it is not really a fail safe, but cooking it is. Boiling it at 212. That's why they have you boil water if there's ever a leak anywhere and you are, put on a boiling notice. That's why is because of parasites. And so if you know that there are ways to get around it, then just do those ways, right? Like I still eat crab once in a while and I just will take the Parafy kit right before eating it as a prophylactic way of making my body inhospitable so they just don't stay in you. And that's the whole point of this is that when you're chronically ill and you're eating something or your digestion is not as fast or you have a lot of stress, it can activate whatever is living inside of your tissues and they live in our muscle, our tissues, and our blood. So when you eat something that then they can party with, then they're going to all come out and hang out. But if you eat something where you've taken the Parafy kit prior to eating that, it's less likely because they get in there and they're like, oh, I don't want to live in this person. And then they leave, right?
Yes. Well, thank you for that
Hmm.
because I've heard you recommend that before. So that's what I do if we are going to have it. And then sometimes when we cook salmon, if you're on audio, I'm describing a piece where it's thicker in the fillet and then thinner. And Mike knows to leave the really thin, overcooked part for me. Because I'm so paranoid about everything. And he's a deer hunter. So, like,
Okay.
everything is just, we have to watch everything. He's very aware of that, so I appreciate it very much. You were talking about, okay, so parasites or worms, whenever we get that,
Hmm.
I am curious because right now we're mostly talking about what I think people think is inside your intestines, in your gut,
Right.
and you would poop this out. However, I'm discovering through getting to know you and all of these different ways of seeing this, I don't know, parasites, worms, whatever.
Hmm.
Please tell me the other ways that we will know that they will evacuate from the body.
Well, if you're not using a binder with like a parasite cleanse, they can leave out your eyes, your ears, your nose, your mouth, your feet. your pee, because your pee is just a runoff of your blood and they're in our blood. So it really is their way of getting out when they feel fear, when they're afraid for their life. That's how they're going to leave. And if you're not supporting your organs, then they will come out other parts of your body. And that's why I created it the way I did with the Parafy kit, with the heavy metals and the Candida cleanse, and then the supporting herbs, because you have to support your organs while they're detoxing. You have to not put so much energy in the negative, right? You got to support them in a positive. And so that's kind of why when we say these scary things that they can come out these different orifices, you just have to do the right cleanse in order for it to come out just your poo or your pee. And pee sounds scary. That's what made me go viral. I know it because I did the video and I was like, they came out my skin, which means my lymphatic system was trash, and they came out my pee, but I also had schistomiasis, which they should come out my pee. So that's kind of a weird thing, but I feel like people are afraid they're going to come out other places, and that's why they don't do the Parafy kit or do a parasite cleanse. And if you do a correct one, you should not have these issues. And that's why I push this so hard to do ours, because I know from personal experience and from professional experience now as well that this is the best way to do a cleanse. And so they can come out, but like they're better out than in, like if they're out, it's one less cycle. Especially people will send me messages and they'll be like, I just got rid of a bunch of eggs. And I'm all, thank goodness, because that means that cycle is not happening no more.
Yes. So I did not have anything come out. However, my symptoms were 100% different from before and after.
Hmm.
So I did, I did not, I had constipation, chronic constipation for 9 months. And I thought it was menopause. I thought it was low estrogen. I tried everything. And I, being more holistic, tried every holistic constipation reliever before I ended up having to go in for the regular things. And when the regular things didn't work, like the Miralax and the Dulcolax and all
Yeah.
those things, that's when I started to think I had to start going through this process. And we were talking about testing. And I'm just bringing it up again because my test was through Rupa, and it gave me, at least, even if it didn't give me everything, it said something's wrong, you got a parasite. Let's start there. But when I was given those results from the nurse practitioner, she said, hey, I want to save you some money. So now that we have a diagnosis, your retest will be through Quest. And so I was like, okay, but does it give me the same thing? She's like, well, just tell you if you have it or not. So what happened was, after 3 antibiotics, which destroyed my gut also, I got my test back from Quest, and all it said was, like, the first test, let me just share, was 5 pages long. And I had to look everything up online just to kind of get my grip, get my bearing. And the test that came back from Quest said no parasites. That's it. It was one line, not even a page. It was one line. Just like you were
Yep.
saying, we're not getting adequate testing. So that's why I went to Parafy and said, hey, you know what? I'm just going to try this. I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to do my 30-day cycle. And sure enough, I was not even 3 weeks in, and I was already having regular bowel movements, and it was just such a relief. My skin was looking better. My skin was looking so whack. And I was feeling pretty good about it before, probably a couple of years ago. And again, we as women in this
Hmm.
age range, with all the stuff that we've been through, all the things that we are supposedly possibly going through, perimenopause, menopause, hormone changes, it's really sad. We don't think, and now I'm so excited because with my clients, you've helped me put one more thing on the list for them to go advocate for themselves.
That's great. That's really, really great, because we should just be doing it, right? Like, and it's crazy because professionally, I used to train lab technicians. So I know what goes on behind the scenes. I know how long they get. They get 3 minutes to look at it. If they don't identify anything like an egg, because it's just really an egg and larvae, like that's all they're looking for. And if they don't know because they're 18, 20 years old, it's not like parasitologists are sitting there looking at the lab core or the Quest tests. And this is no dig on them, but there isn't enough education. It's pretty sad that you can take your stool to a vet, but please don't do that. A vet tech, and they're able to identify what's going on because they actually have training to do that. We just don't as humans in this country. Now, other countries like Mexico, they just gave their people medical freedom because they know of these issues and they know their water isn't great, which ours is not either. I mean, I've tested two places in Washington and both are positive for nematodes because our country doesn't test for nematodes. They test for parasites if there's bacteria or if there's a break, but they don't test for physical worms. And that's what we had in our water, both in Hoodsport and in Seattle, is physical worms, nematodes. So they know in other countries, they do other things in other countries, but for us, like what you're saying, we just don't. And labs are not really adequate when it comes to this. There is an asterisk at the bottom of most labs that say this is not in lieu of a parasitic infection. And so I actually took my stool to LabCorp and I took my stool to parasites.org, and LabCorp missed crypto for me. Parasites.org is the one that caught it, and that's the one that was sent to Mexico.
Oh, good to
So,
know.
yeah.
Parasites.org.
Yeah.
That is really good to know. So real quick,
They're
I
like 250. Their tests are like
yeah,
$250, which is like really not a lot
it's
considering what
no.
you would pay to pay cash, because most of this stuff isn't covered under our Western medicine insurance. So most of it is
No.
everything I do. But to be honest with you, my surgeries costed more than what I do now naturally. So to give people an idea of the cost differential between natural and Western is
Yeah.
about the same when you start to get chronically ill.
And I think the way things are going, if you have to go back to the doctor 10 times when
Mm-hmm.
you could be doing this cleanse 4 times a year. And it's funny because I'm going to bring, before we get to this next step, I want to show everybody who's on video. If you're on audio, what I'm doing is I'm holding up the kit because I actually brought my kit in because I'm on round two. And can you explain what is Parify, what is Sustain, and the metal flush, and then what a binder is? Also, I'm just going
Okay.
to show this for a second, and then everybody can see what it looks like. And then I'd love to just hear what these are for. And then I'll tell you like how easy it is to do.
So easy. So we use organic, all natural products. We make our own product. We manufacture them in our own manufacturing facility. That's 10,000 square feet. We have 30 team members because I want to know everything that's in my product that I'm ingesting. And so that's how we created Parify with Rogers Hood. So rogershood.com is my website that you can go to. Parify is your actual parasite cleanse. It has wormwood, black walnut hull, clove, garlic, hawthorn berry. Hawthorn is really great for tapeworms, bears that have tapeworms because they ate the fresh salmon. They go and eat the hawthorn berry, and so they know how to deworm themselves. But Parify is your actual main parasite cleanse. And then Sustain is Oregon grapefruit, which is also an anti-parasitic, but it's also an anti-inflammatory, and it's like a burbine. And Usnea, which Usnea is Mother Nature's doxycycline, so it's really great for Lyme. And it also helps curb your appetite. And when you're deworming, those worms hold heavy metals, spores, bacteria, and viruses. So I added in Usnea to help sweep out any bacteria and viruses that the worms or parasites may drop. Then you have peppermint, which helps with small intestinal parasites, which is what I had. And when you have small intestinal parasites, you don't have a feeling of worth. And so that's a good indication when you should cleanse, is when you're feeling like not worthy of things and feeling down about yourself. And that's why I brought peppermint in, because I had those feelings and those mental health things going on. Then Metal Flush is our heavy metal detox, but it's also our biofilm buster. So when you're deworming, you have to bring in a biofilm buster or biofilm breaker, or whatever you want to call it, because these things are encapsulated like an egg. That's hard around them. It's hard to remove them. So you need to bring in an herb to actually go in and break the biofilm or the mucus, which we did with lungwort lichen, and that's in Metal Flush. So while you're breaking the biofilm, it's exposing them. Wormwood gets to come in and clean it up. While it's cleaning them up, It's dropping all of the heavy metals because it can hold 6 to 8 times its heavy metals, and it's dropping bacteria, viruses, and eggs. So then you have cilantro that comes in the metal flush and sweeps away the heavy metals because that's the herb we use. Everything we use is edible. And it all has a purpose. So cilantro comes in and it cleans out the heavy metals. You have usnea coming in and cleaning out all of the viruses and bacteria it's dropping, all to avoid it going back into your blood, your tissue, and your muscle and basically reinfecting you. Then you bring in one more thing. You bring in that binder, and our binder is called cinnamon. It's Ceylon cinnamon and coconut activated charcoal. Again, they're natural things. So you're coming in and it's a magnet. Binders are a negative charged herb, and they're grabbing the positive charged toxins and magnetizing it so that it doesn't come out other parts of your body. When you create a system like this inside of your body, they all have their own job. And these things are frequencies. They're alive, they're a frequency. So what I did was I brought in the frequency of that ailment and I matched it with an herb. And so if you think about how an opera singer sings, she can break the glass with her voice. And that's because she gets her voice to the same frequency as the glass. All I did was figure out my own ailments while I was deworming, and I just put them all inside of the Parasite kit so that you have a full functioning kit and that you can get away with not having it be harsh, having it be gentle, and allowing your body to get rid of some extra things like mucus and getting rid of the biofilm and getting rid of heavy metals, because these things are real. These environmental toxins are real in our life now. And we're in this medical awakening. So why not go in and just throw the kitchen sink at it, but have it actually drain instead of causing more and more issues because you didn't do it all right. So each one of my tinctures, each one of them has this purpose. And so that's why I created a system for everyone.
I think that it's amazing. And we'll talk about some of the other products too, because I'm excited to learn about the ones I haven't used.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to share with everyone is this kit is so easy. I think when I first got 3 dropper bottles and the cinnamon, the binder, I thought, how am I going to do this? I'm reading the instructions. And by the way, I started with gutty. I did do the gutty, which I
Oh,
thought was
good.
going to be, I thought that was going to be awful. It is chia seeds, psyllium husk. There's a lot of stuff in there.
There's 4 ingredients:
Okay.
chia seeds, psyllium husk, coconut activated charcoal, and bentonite clay. And what it's doing is it's binding and rinsing. So it's like a pressure washer inside of your intestine. And your intestine, from basically your throat down to your
But
bum, is 22 feet. And that's on average about what everyone's is. So you're trying to get in there and really pressure wash the whole thing, because some of our intestines it's like a conveyor belt. Some of them just kind of stop and then you get backed up in that spot. And then the rest of it's like, wait, hello, I'm here to do my job. So it kind of like stops in the middle. But the chia seeds and the psyllium husk, and then you've got the magnet of the clay and the charcoal coming in, it really pushes along your intestine, getting in the crevices that can be causing things like H. pylori and the bacteria, because it's supposed to be smooth. It's supposed to be a smooth muscle, and ours are janked up. So things can hide inside of there. So it kind of goes in and it's like, and it just creates this effect that helps pull things out like mucoid plaque. And plaque can be in your colon just like it can be in your arteries. And so you're trying to get in there and you're trying to just push all of that crap out, literally, in order for you to then get in there and use the Parafy and Sustain and Meadow Flush as effectively as possible, so that you're able to get as much of that out as possible. Even though they're not just in our gut, it is likely that they're in those crevices and now you've disrupted them and they're not happy about it. And so they retaliate by multiplying.
right. And I thought everything was going to taste a certain way, but even the gutty with the lime tasted actually really good.
Yeah,
Very
don't you?
easy to get in. Yeah, I know you talked about lime a lot, and the lime though was so good in
Yeah.
there, and it was easy to get down because you have the chia seeds get gelatinous. And
Mhm.
then, but I have to say, with the Paraffi Sustain and the Metal Flush too, tastes like cinnamon. I just put it in a little
Mhm.
water, and when I would come to work, you have to do it 3 times a day. You have to do it 30 minutes before you eat on an empty stomach. It sounds very overwhelming, but I trust me, it is not. You just plan 30 minutes before a meal, you're going to be hungry and empty a little bit anyway.
Right.
So you just do it the 3 times and the binder at night. And so
That's it.
I'm just saying it's easy. It really,
It's so
I carried
easy.
around that box for a month. So we got to talk about the full moon because
Okay.
my husband does not sleep, gets headaches, and he got tested, but as we know, we're not really sure how that test
Right.
really came out. So I convinced him actually after this full moon because things got wild, saying just do the cleanse with me this time. We got another one coming in. Just do it and let's just see what happens. So let's talk about why things get crazy around the full moon because also feel free to bring in itchy butt
Okay.
because I remember as a kid dealing with my mom telling me that I had pinworms, which of
Mhm.
course back then I would have never told anybody, but now it's
Right.
like, what?
Embarrassing. Yeah.
So yeah, what's up with the full moon?
Well, the full moon creates more serotonin in your body, and they live off of our serotonin. It's like their happy hormone, just like it's our happy hormone. And so I learned this because have studied a lot of other cultures and other countries, like cleansing and medicine over the last 4 years since I've been doing this. And I found that the French, because they eat a lot of snails, everyone knows the French eats a lot of snails. Well, snails have schistomiacin in them, which is a parasite that lives in freshwater and specifically in snails. So, freshwater and snails, not just snails in freshwater. And I want to preface that because I also had it from living and jumping in lakes of freshwater. So, you can get them whether you eat snails or not. Anyway, so they did a lot of cleanses and they started 3 days prior to the full moon because they start to dislodge themselves and move up freely in your body on the serotonin river of your body. And they eat that serotonin, and that's what's making everybody like heightened and a little off their rockers during the full moon and really just crazy, right? And so 3 days prior to the full moon, over the full moon, and then a few days after the full moon is when you're really recommended to kind of start a cleanse. Or if you're going to just do like a mid cleanse, sometimes I'll do like a 7 day cleanse during that time frame. But the full moon really is a thing. And, we're trying to get rid of them the best we can. So the best thing is if you haven't picked a day to start, you should start 3 days prior to the full moon and make sure you fall over the full moon. But I just start. Like, I'll just randomly start. I mean, I've been doing this for so long now that I'll just literally randomly start whenever. But if you really want to get the most out of it and the most of them, that's when they say to do a parasite cleanse.
Yeah. Okay. And it makes so much sense. I didn't have any idea about the serotonin connection. That's
Yeah.
amazing. I
It's
am
like
learning so much.
it's a thing, it's not just, oh, because I've had, I read my comments here and there, not a lot anymore because it's wild, but I see, oh, that's not true, but it's like A and P 101, like we do feel different over the full moon. So if you're having flares during the full moon, like I was actually calculating, this is kind of how I figured out that I had parasites. And I want to let everyone know I figured out that I had parasites. I did not have any doctors. I was medically abandoned 2 years prior to this journey, and I figured it out on my own. Like, found my own company to test, found my own way of parasite cleansing. I went viral over me talking about this. So it isn't that, like, it's not all out there in one nice spot until I came out and said, like, here's some ebooks. I'm going to talk about this. I had to dig literally to find all of this information. I was in the depths of the dark web. I mean, I have been down in the underbelly of information. I've talked to people around the world to find out what they did. Like, I have really dug and researched everything I talk about before I stepped onto this platform to talk about it. I wanted to have like every single answer that I could potentially have. And if I don't know it, I'm going to go find it. And I will reach out to anyone around the world. And I've reached out to people around the world. I mean, Jamaica, I've talked to Jamaicans, I've talked to people from India, I've talked to Chinese, I've talked to Koreans. Like, I have talked to so many people about how they cleanse and what their cultures do and why they chose to do this and how they've been doing this for their whole lives, and maybe not as much of this generation, but if you start talking to elders and you look at the way the Amish cleanse, the Amish do this. They understand, like, because they're not in Western medicine. But I just feel like this is just such a crazy thought process for Western medicine people because we've been somewhat indoctrinated. I got on a tangent. I'm sorry.
I love that tangent. And we were talking about this before we even hit record. We almost had to be like, wait, let's talk about this on the show because it really is interesting to me how, as we all think we're such a clean society compared to
Yeah,
other places. We're told that in other places, don't drink the water, don't have certain foods. And we are really dealing with the same things.
we
It's
are.
interesting, but we just didn't. I think the interesting thing too is I am not anti-doctor. There's reasons why I've had to go to the doctor. I'm all good. But holistically, I feel like it's been a long time for people to catch up with things that have been used around the world for years and years
Right.
and years. So I have to ask, like, are
Mhm.
you getting DMs every single day of people's worms, poop, like
Oh,
everything? Are
yeah.
you getting all that?
Every day we get
Oh,
emails. Like, when you start working on the social media side of Rogers Hood, you have to answer one of our questions as a yes. Like, are you afraid of poop and worms? Because if you are, it's an all day, every day thing. We have we work off Signal. That's an app that we chat with. And we have one of our chats that says UPO and it's unidentified parasite object because we get so many a day. And then I go in and I identify them throughout the day, but we get DMs, emails, our Facebook group our Facebook groups, we request you to not put them except for in the comments. So then those get brought over to me. But yeah, I mean, it's a full day. We have a 600-page ebook that is free that you can do parasite identification. And I've have over 20,000 pictures that have been submitted to me in the last 4 years. And so I actually went into this 600-page book and I picked out, like, I don't know, I think there's like 1,300 or something of the best pictures. And then I've also identified them. So if you're seeing something questionable in your stool, you can download my free ebook of the identification of them and you can go in and actually identify them yourself because there's just not a lot of reliable sources out there.
yeah, and I love that you have that because it comes with everything. You can just download it.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that you share that. So, what do you think about the fact that I didn't see anything? Do
Oh,
you
I
think there's
think
still
that it's
something in there?
microscopic.
Okay.
I mean, there's a video if you want to go watch it that I did with pineapple juice. And I had no idea that pineapple juice was such an anti-parasitic. And it's because it changes the pH of the actual parasite, but it obliterates them. You can see literally the microscope. They do literally they're live worms. He sticks it under the microscope. He does one drop of pineapple juice from fresh pineapple and it shows how it breaks them apart. So unless you're in there, there's three types of parasite cleansers. There's the flushers, the lookers, and the diggers. So unless you're in there and you're digging and you're separating your stool and looking at under a microscope, it really is about the symptoms and then how you feel after you do the cleanse. It's not so much about what you see. If you have a huge infestation, you're probably going to see something which maybe isn't always such a good thing when you're doing all of this. Maybe it isn't such a great thing that you're seeing everything, but like, this is a cycle too, and you might have hit them at a specific cycle, feeling they could have burrowed down. You could have yours is a microscopic parasite, if I'm not mistaken, from what we've talked about. You're not going to see those things. Those things you have to look at under a microscope. But when you're taking anti-parasitic herbs, they should be obliterating them. The fact that you don't see anything is a good thing in my opinion, and it's because it's going in and just chopping them to smithereens, right? But if you look at that video, and I reference that video a lot because it shows you in real time how the parasite, one, is just smashed apart, and two, how it lays eggs when it feels frightened and starts to give birth. And that's why you do all of these other herbs with a binder because it's going to bind that immediately and not allow it to go back into your body.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And I'm just saying, I'm thankful I didn't see anything because,
But everybody all
Yes.
day.
Yeah.
I hear it all day. "I
All
haven't
day
seen anything,
long.
it's not working." And it's like, "No,
I
man,
love that.
it's working, it's working." Like, the herbs are getting in there, and whether or not you take the herbs before you eat or if you forget and you take them after, the herbs are still working. We
Okay.
just want them to work at the maximum capacity. Now, sometimes I forget and I just take them as soon as I remember them. The most important part about the Parasite Kit or a parasite cleanse is getting those herbs in your body. It's not so much the exact 32 minutes before or the exact like the cinnamon, it's really about getting them in your bloodstream. And with tinctures, they are bioavailable, readily available, and go immediately into your bloodstream. So whether you have a full stomach or not, they're immediately getting into your body. So I know I've looked at kind of changing the instructions a little bit to make it really a lot more simple. And that's possible that we might do that just because I've done so much research about tinctures. I've done so much research about the herbs. And it's not like you're taking a pill that has to go in and fight with your stomach and the food. It's literally just going right into your mouth and immediately being absorbed and working right away. The thought process for everyone that's listening to this is that don't stress too much about that. 3 times a day, and a lot of times I say all 3 tinctures, even though Sustain will say twice a day. Sustain, I say that just because Oregon grapefruit is another anti-parasitic, and so it could be too much, but like 3 times a day, 3 tinctures, binder at night, and like it's really that simple.
Kim, thank you. You gave so much great information. I have just been so excited to talk to you because you share all of this stuff with a smile, like the most terrifying subject with a smile. And you're so gracious about just wanting everyone to feel better. So,
Mm.
as we wrap this up, is there anything else you want to share that I should have asked you about?
Well, I actually am launching a new kit. We have listened to the community and I have been working on the lymphatic drainage kit for the last probably over a year now. And it launches on May 15th. And we're so excited about it. It can be taken prior to the Parasite kit to get yourself ready and also to see how doing 3 tinctures and getting yourself into like rhythm. And then it can continue to be taken while you're on the Parasite kit and after. I wanted to create a non-cleanse type of product for people that will help you feel better while on the cleanse and continue to make you feel better. So I created 2 new tinctures, the Lymph, LYMF, and Holy Skull, because I am always working on my lymphatic drainage and I've currently started focusing more of my time on my brain and how important brain health is. And so I'm bringing those to the table and I'm super excited. They taste really good. I got them in the mail yesterday because we're launching it in a month. And so I'm like, oh,
That is so exciting. Well,
yeah,
congratulations.
thanks.
And will you tell everyone where we can find you? And just know everything you're going to say right now, I'm also going to put in the show notes.
Okay, so you can find me on all of my platforms under MRS, Rogers Hood, ROGERSHOOD. And then on Instagram, I'm Miss Rogers.hood. And my website is rogershood.com. My podcast is What's Eating You with the U, not spelled out YOU. And I talk about all the things that I'm doing to help my health. I take you on field trips to show you so that you can see it in real time of what I'm doing. And I really just want people to be healthy. We're in a medical awakening, and I am so proud to be on the forefront of it all.
Well, congratulations, Kim, because I see you really getting the exposure that you deserve right now. And I want to say thank you
Thanks.
so much for being amazing, so informative, educational, but also really compassionate for people who are dealing with this. And I appreciate you being here today.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks for having me.
Everyone out there, make sure you nourish your entire life and give yourself grace today.